In this video, we delve into the complex narrative surrounding the Trojan War, dissecting its depiction in mythological texts and juxtaposing that with the wealth of archaeological and historical data available today. This analysis aims to provide an expert-level exploration into one of antiquity's most enduring subjects, where ancient legend meets modern inquiry. Our discussion will navigate through the intricacies of ancient sources, evaluate the latest archaeological findings from sites such as Hisarlik, and rigorously examine the literary traditions that have shaped the lore of Troy. We will also investigate the geopolitical and cultural contexts that gave rise to the narratives of heroism, conflict, and loss in the Late Bronze Age, providing a critical framework for understanding the evolution of these enduring legends. By integrating technical archaeological data, scholarly debate, and detailed textual analysis, we offer a comprehensive overview that respects the complexity of the historical record. Whether you are familiar with the extensive research on Bronze Age civilizations or are approaching these topics for the first time, this script is designed to sharpen your insights on the intersection of myth and historical fact while maintaining an engaging and accessible tone throughout our expert discussion. Let us begin our inquiry. To fully appreciate the layers of the Trojan War narrative, it is essential to examine the historical context that birthed these stories. Scholars widely agree that the events described likely occurred during the Late Bronze Age, roughly between 1200 and 1150 BCE. This period, marked by extensive trade networks and cultural exchanges across the Aegean and Anatolian regions, set the stage for intense interactions among emerging civilizations. In this dynamic environment, cities such as Troy served as crucial hubs for commerce, as well as for diplomatic and military engagements. The complex interplay of economics, politics, and cultural influences contributed to escalating tensions that, over time, became immortalized in epic poetry and myth. Historical research has increasingly shown that the region surrounding Hisarlik, identified by modern archaeologists as the likely location of Troy, was a melting pot of civilizations. Recent excavations have unearthed fortifications, sophisticated water systems, and evidence of repeated destructions, suggesting that this was no mere legend, but a site marked by real conflict and political upheaval. Ancient records, inscribed on clay tablets and other durable materials, provide statistical data and detailed accounts of trade and warfare, bolstering the historical validity of the period. These archaeological findings work in tandem with textual sources to paint a vivid portrait of the era. By examining the material culture and documented interactions among these ancient societies, researchers are developing more rigorous models that link myth with historical events. Each new discovery refines our understanding and encourages a re-evaluation of long-held assumptions about the origins of the Trojan War. This period of transformation not only reshaped regional power dynamics, but also provided fertile ground for the transmission of oral traditions that would eventually be codified into the epic narratives we study today. These refined insights are pivotal for reconstructing ancient historical frameworks. One of the most challenging aspects of interpreting the Trojan War narrative is discerning where myth ends and history begins. Ancient texts, particularly Homer's Iliad, have significantly shaped our collective understanding, yet they blend poetic embellishments with potential historical kernels. As experts, we must navigate these layers using rigorous critical analysis and comparative studies to extract factual elements from the fabric of myth. Homer's narrative, composed in a time when oral tradition reigned supreme, is replete with supernatural interventions, divine quarrels, and exaggerated character portrayals that serve both as literary devices and as cultural expressions of an era that valued heroic ideals. Detailed linguistic and stylistic analyses of these texts reveal underlying consistencies that suggest the inclusion of genuine historical events beneath ornamental layers. Moreover, when cross-examined with contemporaneous records and later literary works, these narratives often mirror recurring conflict patterns observed in ancient Near Eastern conflicts. Modern historians employ advanced techniques such as radiocarbon dating, stratigraphic analysis, and metallurgical studies to affirm the chronological framework and material reality of the events alluded to in the legends. For instance, The systematic study of destruction layers at archaeological sites near Hisarlik supports the hypothesis of recurrent warfare, lending credence to the notion of an actual conflict. Quantitative data from these excavations, such as precise measurements of settlement abandonment and the distribution of ceramics, demonstrate a pattern consonant with historical accounts of sieges and sudden disasters. Simultaneously, scholars compare mythological motifs across diverse cultures to understand the symbolic functions these stories served. The parallels drawn between the Trojan War narrative and other epic traditions reinforce the idea that ancient storytellers encoded real geopolitical and social dynamics within a framework of myth. Interdisciplinary collaboration among historians, literary critics, and archaeologists continues to refine our knowledge, bridging the gap between poetic tradition and empirical inquiry. This synthesis not only enriches our interpretation, but also frames the Trojan War as a phenomenon where myth and history converge in intricate and revealing ways. In summary, the process of disentangling myth from fact in the Trojan War narrative is a multidimensional task. It requires the integration of literary criticism with the precision of scientific methodology, ensuring that each hypothesis is supported by tangible evidence. This balanced approach continues to shed light on the intricate ways in which ancient societies recorded their experiences and immortalized them in legend. These efforts remain vital for unraveling historical truth with utmost rigor. Archaeological evidence plays a pivotal role in validating aspects of the Trojan War narrative. Excavations at Hisarlik have unearthed a series of stratified layers that reveal the city's complex history, including periods of construction, destruction, and reconstruction. These layers, meticulously documented through modern archaeological techniques, suggest that multiple cities existed on the same site over several centuries, each bearing evidence of sudden, violent destruction that may correlate with episodic conflicts. The fortifications discovered at Hisarlik are particularly instructive. Robust stone walls, constructed with precision and evidence of strategic reinforcement, indicate that the inhabitants of Troy were well aware of both defensive and offensive military strategies. Radiocarbon and thermoluminescence dating methods have been applied to various destruction layers, consistently narrowing the timeline of major events to the Late Bronze Age. Detailed survey reports and spatial analysis of excavation areas reveal that the destruction was not localized but widespread across urban sectors. Ceramic typology and residue analysis further point to disruptions in daily economic activities, a signature of collective upheaval. Significantly, numerous artifacts recovered from the site, including weaponry, pottery, and personal items, provide quantitative data supporting the existence of a complex social structure capable of sustaining prolonged military engagements. The discovery of arrowheads and chariot components, for example, aligns with descriptions found in ancient texts and suggests that the inhabitants were not only engaged in combat, but also adept in the use of contemporary military technologies. Additionally, the variation in construction techniques observed in different layers suggests a gradual evolution in defensive architecture, likely in response to repeated external pressures. Recently, advanced imaging techniques such as multispectral analysis and 3D photogrammetry have been employed to create detailed maps of the excavation sites, allowing researchers to reconstruct not only the architecture of Troy, but also the spatial distribution of artifacts. This holistic archaeological approach, supported by quantitative data and cross-disciplinary collaboration, offers compelling evidence that the Trojan War narrative has a tangible basis in historical events. Altogether, the integrated archaeological record affirms that Troy was a dynamic urban center, its physical remnants echoing the tumult of ancient warfare observed in historical chronicles without doubt. Homer's Iliad remains one of the most influential literary sources for understanding the Trojan War, offering a rich tapestry of narrative elements that intertwine with historical conjecture. Although its primary function was to entertain and instruct, the text provides invaluable insights into the socio-political structures, warfare tactics, and cultural values of the Late Bronze Age. Through careful textual criticism, experts are able to discern patterns that hint at real events obscured by layers of poetic embellishment. Beyond the Iliad, additional narratives such as Virgil's Aeneid, later Roman reinterpretations, and fragments from other ancient poets contribute supplementary perspectives that help corroborate elements of the myth. Comparative literary analysis reveals recurring themes, narrative motifs, and structural similarities that suggest a shared tradition rooted in a historical kernel. Numbers, such as the quantified accounts of troop mobilizations and the categorization of different types of weaponry mentioned in literary passages, offer an intriguing intersection of myth and material reality. Modern scholars employ statistical methods and computational analysis to examine word frequencies, narrative structures, and intertextual connections across these texts. Such quantitative approaches provide a robust framework for distinguishing authorial invention from collective memory. By integrating these advanced techniques with traditional philological studies, researchers can better align narrative details with archaeological findings and other historical sources. Ultimately, while literary sources like the Iliad do not offer definitive accounts, they serve as essential puzzle pieces that, when combined with empirical data, contribute to a more comprehensive understanding of the Trojan War and its cultural legacy. These texts require meticulous evaluation, as their poetic form often conceals layers of symbolic meaning beneath literally stated events. Advanced hermeneutic techniques allow scholars to decode the metaphors and allegories embedded within these narratives, enhancing our understanding of the socioeconomic conditions during that era. These analyses enrich our overall historical understanding. Key figures in the Trojan War narrative have been immortalized through both myth and careful historical reinterpretation. Central to the story are figures such as Achilles, whose martial prowess and near invincibility are emblematic of heroic idealism. Hector, the noble warrior prince whose tragic fate highlights the cost of honor in war. Paris and Helen, whose personal decisions are portrayed as catalysts for massive conflict, and other lesser-known characters who symbolize the spectrum of human experience in times of crisis. A careful examination of these figures reveals that their attributes often mirror realistic personas embedded in the social and political fabric of the late Bronze Age. For example, statistical analyses of ancient pottery distributions and settlement patterns suggest that elite warriors like Achilles may have been figures akin to military commanders whose influence extended well beyond the battlefield. Similarly, the portrayal of Hector reflects not only personal valor, but also the leadership demands placed upon a society frequently engaged in regional power struggles. Pivotal events, including the siege of Troy and the legendary ruse of the Trojan horse, have been subjects of extensive technical scrutiny. Archaeological excavations show widespread evidence of siege warfare, and the sudden appearance of atypical weaponry closely corresponds with the narrative of an unexpected military stratagem. In parallel, historical records and metallurgical data indicate that the transfer of military technology and strategic innovation played an essential role during these conflicts. Quantitative models have been developed to simulate troop movements and battle outcomes, further bridging the gap between myth and measurable history. In summation, a synthesis of analysis, archaeological findings, and statistical modeling emphasizes that these key figures and events are not mere embellishments, but represent a confluence of cultural memory and historical fact. This evaluation offers insights into the complexities of ancient warfare and societal organization. Modern critical analysis of the Trojan War narrative employs an array of interdisciplinary methods to re-examine ancient sources and archaeological data. Scholars have increasingly adopted a framework that integrates historiographical criticism, advanced statistical modeling, and cutting-edge imaging to revisit the foundational assumptions regarding the war's historicity. This methodological rigor has sparked robust debates among experts, prompting the reinterpretation of evidence and the refinement of prevailing theories. Recent studies have utilized computational linguistics to analyze ancient texts, revealing subtle patterns that indicate diverse layers of oral tradition underlying the recorded epics. Such research has identified recurring terminology and structural motifs that bridge geographical and temporal divides, suggesting that the evolution of the narrative was influenced by a broad spectrum of cultural exchanges. At the same time, re-examinations of material culture through techniques such as isotope analysis and high-resolution dating have provided granular data that challenges previously held chronologies. In contemporary scholarship, these critical methods coexist with traditional hermeneutic approaches, fostering a more dynamic dialogue between empirical evidence and literary analysis. The integration of digital humanities tools has enabled researchers to visualize data trends, compare disparate sources, and generate actionable models that bring clarity to long-standing ambiguities. These models offer quantitative insights into the scale, timing, and sociopolitical context of the conflict, thus reinforcing the credibility of historical reconstructions. Furthermore, present-day interpretations are mindful of potential biases inherent in ancient records, employing critical theory to assess issues such as narrative reliability and authorial intent. As our analytical techniques continue to evolve, they invite a re-evaluation of the interplay between myth and historical documentation, ensuring that modern interpretations remain both rigorous and adaptable. These critical assessments not only refine our historical models, but also challenge us to reimagine the ways in which past narratives are constructed and understood by present scholars with conviction. The Trojan War narrative, with its intricate blend of myth and historical allusions, has left an indelible mark on Western thought. This ancient saga has not only influenced subsequent literary and artistic traditions, but also shaped modern historical inquiry through its complex interplay of renown and mystery. Its themes of honor, conflict, and human frailty continue to resonate in academic debates and cultural discourses alike. Over the centuries, the stories of heroic feats, tragic losses, and strategic brilliance have informed both scholarly research and popular reinterpretations of history. The enduring influence of the Trojan War is evident in the countless adaptations that reformulate the narrative for new audiences, be they in literature, film, or digital media. Its impact on historical methodology is equally profound, as it has prompted the development of innovative archaeological techniques and critical approaches aimed at reconstructing elusive past events. This legacy is a testament to the power of myth in shaping narrative and memory. By continually inspiring new investigations and reinterpretations, the Trojan War maintains its relevance not only as a work of art, but also as a dynamic focal point for understanding the human experience through the lens of history. Its influence endures beyond time. In conclusion, the investigation into the Trojan War narrative reveals a sophisticated intermingling of myth and historical fact. The multifaceted evidence, from literary masterpieces to a wealth of archaeological data, demonstrates that what was once considered pure legend is underpinned by a series of real events and cultural interactions. Scholarly efforts, employing both traditional and innovative methodologies, continue to uncover layers of meaning that deepen our understanding of ancient civilizations. This comprehensive analysis emphasizes that while the poetic narratives capture the imagination, they also encode critical details about the societal structures, military strategies, and dynamic conflicts of the Late Bronze Age. By scrutinizing the historical context, textual sources, and empirical findings with rigorous precision, researchers have significantly narrowed the gap between myth and verifiable history. Such endeavors not only illuminate the past, but also refine modern approaches to the study of ancient narratives. Ultimately, the Trojan War stands as a testament to the enduring power of storytelling and its capacity to bridge the realms of art and science. As ongoing explorations unfold, the synthesis,